Hi, and welcome to the HR Link, where we have people-first conversations that centre around the humans inside your business. I'm Amy from Grounded HR, and my superpower lies in my ability to zero in on the individual to bring out their unique strengths, whilst helping values-led Australian businesses lead their teams with confidence and care. Here you'll find simple, people-first HR conversations and tips to take the stress out of managing your team and put the humans at the centre of everything. So let's jump in. Hello and welcome to today's episode. I hope you are having a beautiful day, whatever time of day you are joining us. Today we're going to talk about one of my most popular subjects, and that is performance reviews. So many small businesses avoid doing performance reviews because they don't know how. It feels scary. They dread them. They've had really bad past experiences with performance reviews when they were an employee. And if you have had any of those experiences, you are not alone. I worked in a HR department and I had horrible performance reviews over the years. And what I recognize is that there are a couple of things that business owners and line leaders, team leaders, don't do well. And I want to talk through that today to try and take away the awkwardness of these conversations about not knowing what to say and how to do them. Now, I approach performance reviews in the idea that these are actually really kind conversations. Kindness comes by passing on both positive and developmental feedback. You are actually being kind to your employees when you share with them the good, the bad, and the ugly. By not sharing that information, you're actually being quite unkind to them and letting them carry on in life, thinking that everything is fine when it's not. So I want to help you today to prepare, know what to say, how to have these conversations, how to make them feel like they're not formal, that they are just a conversation that is really meaningful and that is helpful and that is actually a positive experience for yourself and for the employee to drive personal and business performance. I tend to use a 3-step process because I like a good framework, because a framework helps us keep our thoughts in order and helps us to not feel so overwhelmed. The first step in this process, in this framework, is to prepare. We need to prepare in a number of different ways before a performance review. We can't just turn up to the conversation and hope for the best. What we should be preparing first is making sure that there is an up-to-date copy of a person's job description. It's really difficult to tell a person whether they have been performing well or that there are developmental areas if you haven't set the expectation from the beginning. So I encourage you to review. It's a great time to review a job description, both yourself and ask the employee to review the job description and see if they've got any feedback. The next part is you need to prepare a template. A performance review template does not need to be pages and pages long. It really needs to drill down on a few key areas. One of those areas is the culture, values, mission of the business. Is the person aligned with those things about your business? Are they behaving in a way that is attracting good clients, that is nurturing relationships both with their peers and with their clients? And are they being respectful to yourself and the decisions that you are making within the business? Are they contributing? Those are all the behaviors we want to review and whether they're aligned with the values of your business. The second area that your performance review should have is a review against the job description. That should be a review of technical skill, a review of organization, a review of teamwork, and all the areas that you have included in your job descriptions. That should also compare against whatever the measures of success are. So we need to talk about how they've been successful. The job description should guide you in this. And have they actually been successful in delivering those things in the last, whatever the review period is, 6 months, 12 months. We then also need to review what are the development areas. So the third area on the template that you use for the discussion is to look at where are we going next? What are our goals? How can we set some SMART goals? Specific, measurable, achievable. You need to make sure that those goals are really important, that they're timely, that you've set timeframes, what resources are needed. And so we need to make sure that those goals and developmental areas are aligned with where they want to go, but also where the business needs them to go. That template you prepare is going to be tailored potentially to the role, but also definitely to the business, because it depends on whether a role has a leadership capacity or not, as to there's going to be different areas that need to be reviewed. Once you prepare that, there should also be a self-review section. So those sections that you have included for yourself to review the person, the employee should have the opportunity to review themselves and provide ideas and feedback on how they are feeling. You should give the employee about a week to write those notes and send them back to you before you have a meeting with them. Then we book the meeting. So we need to give them time and place. The discuss part is the next part of the structure. We need to book that meeting in a place where you're not going to be interrupted. It needs to be a place where all parties feel comfortable. It can be really informal. So quite often I've had these conversations in cafes. If you need to go off-site for it to be that you're not interrupted, then I absolutely encourage you to do that. And it needs to be a two-way conversation. Now, this can be really difficult in the beginning when you're first rolling out a performance review process. Again, people come into these conversations with past experiences, and quite often it has been a one-sided conversation for them. So it's going to take a little bit of work from you as the business owner or team leader to actually open up the conversation with that person and really get them to engage with you. It may not happen in the first conversation. You need to get really comfortable with silence, because you need to be patient and allow the person time to think, but also to let them know that you really want them to answer the question and not give you a one-word answer. Once you've had that discussion, it is really important to create a clear record of what was discussed. You need to document that all down in that template that you have prepared, and you need to then create the actionable goals from that. This part is where so many people fall down. They tick off the doing, the reviewing part, all of those kind of things, but it never becomes a follow-up and a forward-thinking part of the process. And I feel like that's a whole section of the performance loop that is missed. So if you say you're going to do something for an employee, if you're going to help them with some training, if you're going to help them with some mentoring, if you're going to give them opportunities within the business to learn new skills, then do it. You need to make yourself accountable to doing the things that you have promised for the employee. So make sure that there is a follow-up process, there is a timeline in there, all of those kind of things. And make sure that it's simple and easy for you to be reminded. If it's as simple as putting a post-it note on your computer screen or asking the employee to follow up with you in a certain amount of time about booking that in. So make sure that you complete the entire loop. You need to make sure you prepare, discuss, and then you need to follow up. I know that can feel overwhelming, but I really want you to think about this as being, rather than something you dread, that it becomes a motivating conversation for yourself, but also a motivating conversation for your employee. In our freebies, our resources on our website, I've actually created a free template document called the Business Owner's Guide to Managing Performance. It is a free guide that you can access that has some really cool information in there around understanding performance and underperformance. It talks about the performance management process that I've just gone over. It talks about the common mistakes that we see and how to avoid them. I also talk about understanding the legal and compliance pieces. And there's some case studies in there as well that might be really helpful. So I'll make sure that the link to that is in the show notes. But I really want to encourage you to create some structure. Make it simple to start with. I've had clients who have started with a one-page check-in. That was how they eased into this process. Then as they grew and they moved from a more casual workforce to a more permanent workforce, they then transitioned through to a full performance review process. They still kept the quick check-in sheet for their casual employees, but they then moved to a more robust process for their permanent employees. So it can be an evolution. Another client I've worked with, we have over the last 12 months evolved their performance review process twice over to add feedback from the employees of what they were challenged by, to try and get better outcomes out of the performance review process so that the employees were feeling really supported, but that it was also a fair and reasonable process across multiple line managers, because obviously people are going to review in different ways. Don't think that you need to jump into this process and know it all and have all the things in place to start with. I want you to really focus on it being a genuine conversation, and even if you do it without a template to start with and have a conversation, that is where the connection begins. So download our Business Owner's Guide to Managing Performance. And if you ever need assistance with connecting with building out these processes, then I would love to get in touch. We have multiple ways that we work with our clients, and you can get in touch via our website. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for joining me today on the HR Link. If you found this episode helpful, make sure you hit subscribe or follow so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. We always aim to help you lead your team with confidence and care. And if you're ready to take the next step, I encourage you to explore the HR Link. It's your HR partner in your pocket. We provide practical, people-first support to Aussie Australian businesses. You'll find the link below. But up until next time, keep leading with clarity, care, and confidence, and we'll see you then.